My mother was pinning a rhinestone crown into my 9-year-old daughter's hair when she told me to smile for the judges. Ruby's face was pale. Her tablet, still recording inside a costume bag, held the sentence my mother never thought I would hear. "Your mom will ruin this if you tell her." In 7 minutes, Ruby was supposed to walk onto a hotel ballroom stage. My father stood beside the curtain with a release form and a pen. My mother held the crown in place with one hand and pushed the form toward me with the other. "Do not make a scene," she whispered. "She needs to see you supporting her." What my mother did not understand was that I had spent my whole career helping children use their own voices. I was not going to teach my daughter that hers disappeared whenever an adult wanted applause. I took the crown off Ruby's head, opened the recording, and turned the volume all the way up. "Before I tell you what happened in that ballroom, tell me this. Would you protect a family's reputation if the price was your child's trust? My name is Nina Caldwell. I am 37 years old, and I work as a pediatric speech therapist in Raleigh, North Carolina. Most of my patients are children who know exactly what they want to say, but cannot always make the words come out the way other people expect. I understand that feeling better than most. I stuttered badly when I was young. Some days I could speak without much trouble. Other days, a simple introduction felt like trying to push a chair through a doorway that was too narrow. My mother, Celeste, believed every problem could be corrected by presentation. She owned a small hair salon called Polished, and she had spent her teenage years competing in local beauty pageants. She still kept her old sashes in tissue paper at the top of her closet. When I was 6, she entered me in my first pageant. She said it would build confidence. What it built was a second version of me, one who smiled while her throat tightened and learned to hide shaking hands behind a bouquet. My father, Martin, never cared about pageants. He cared about peace. That sounds harmless until you grow up inside it. Peace in our house meant Mom got her way before her voice became sharp, and everyone else called the surrender a compromise. Dad worked as an insurance adjuster, and he was patient with damaged roofs, flooded kitchens, and strangers who yelled at him over deductibles. With my mother, he became a man who studied the floor and said, "Let us not turn this into something bigger." That sentence shaped my childhood. A pin scratching my scalp was not something bigger. Missing dinner because a dress had to fit was not something bigger. Crying in a restroom because I could not say my own name for the MC was not something bigger. Mom would crouch in front of me, smooth my eyebrows with her thumbs, and say, "Pretty girls do not let people see the struggle." Then she would send me back under the lights. I stopped competing when I was 13. I did not make a brave speech. I locked myself in the bathroom before a regional event and refused to put on the blue dress hanging from the door. Mom cried harder than I did. Dad asked me to come out and apologize. I stayed on the tile floor until the event had already started, listening to both of them explain how much money, time, and hope I was wasting. The next morning, Mom placed my last rhinestone crown on the kitchen table. It was too large for my head and heavier than it looked. "One day," she said, "you will understand what you threw away." For years, I believed I had thrown away her love. That belief made me easy to manage. I became careful, useful, and quick to apologize. I learned to soften every no until it sounded like a maybe. College gave me distance. Therapy gave me language. My work gave me a purpose that did not require a stage, and I learned that confidence was not performing comfort for strangers. It was feeling safe enough to be honest. I met my husband, Aaron, at a community literacy program. He taught 5th grade and had a laugh that arrived before the joke was finished. He never completed my sentences. He waited even after my stutter had mostly faded because waiting was part of listening. We married when I was 27. Ruby was born the next year with a fierce set of lungs and a tiny crease between her eyebrows that appeared whenever she studied something. She loved facts, hidden compartments, and anything involving the night sky. By 9, Ruby could name more moons than I could. She kept a notebook of constellations and corrected adults who called every bright object a star. She disliked ruffled sleeves, loud rooms, and people touching her hair without asking. She was not shy. That distinction mattered to me. Ruby spoke when she had something to say. She simply did not enjoy being watched while she said it. Mom treated that preference like a defect. "She needs to come out of her shell," she would say, even when Ruby was happily explaining lunar eclipses to anyone willing to listen. I answered the same way every time. She does not live in a shell. She just does not perform on command. For a while, Mom laughed and let it go. She bought Ruby science kits, took her for strawberry pancakes, and learned enough planet names to keep a conversation going. I wanted those visits to work. My parents had been better grandparents than parents in many ways. Dad let Ruby measure rainfall in jars across his yard. Mom saved every school picture and displayed them at the salon. Their house felt easier when I was not the child being corrected. That difference gave me hope. It also made me careless. The first real warning came during Ruby's third-grade spring musical. She had no interest in acting, but she volunteered to help backstage. The night before the show, a student got sick, and the teacher asked Ruby to step into one short speaking part. Ruby walked on stage wearing cardboard butterfly wings. She said 4 lines clearly, bowed once, and hurried back behind the curtain, and I was proud because she had made the choice herself. Mom saw something else. She squeezed my arm and whispered, "Did you see her face under those lights? She has it." I knew exactly what she meant. "She helped her class," I said. "That is all." After the show, Mom arrived at our house with a garment bag. Inside was a pale green dress covered in tiny crystals. It was not a costume from the musical. It was a pageant dress. Ruby touched one sleeve and pulled her hand back. Aaron looked at me over her head. Dad stood near the front door, already wearing the expression he used when he hoped the rest of us would finish a conflict without involving him. Mom said the dress had belonged to a salon client's daughter. It practically fell into my lap. "Ruby can use it for pictures, a party, anything." "We are not doing pageants," I said. "I did not say pageant. You brought a pageant dress." "I brought a beautiful dress to my granddaughter." Ruby asked if she had to try it on. Mom's smile held, but only just. "Of course not, sweetheart. I thought you might enjoy feeling special." Ruby looked at me. That was the first moment I should have ended the visit. Instead, I wanted to prove that a dress did not have power over us. "You can try it if you want," I told her. "Or you can say no." Ruby said no. Mom folded the dress with slow, wounded movements. Dad carried it back to the car. On the porch, he told me I could have handled it more gently. I asked what gentler would have looked like. He said, "Your mother was excited." That was how my parents translated a boundary. My no became a feeling Mom had to survive. A month later, Ruby spent a Saturday at their house while Aaron and I attended a teacher retirement dinner. When she came home, her hair was curled, her eyelids shimmered, and her lips were bright pink. Ruby ran upstairs before taking off her shoes. Mom showed me pictures on her phone, and Ruby stood against a white sheet in the green dress, one hand on her hip and a fixed smile on her face. "We had a little glamour day," Mom said. "Did she ask for this?" "She had fun." That is not what I asked. Dad stepped between us with Ruby's overnight bag. "It was dress up, Nina. Nothing happened." I found Ruby in her room scrubbing lipstick from her mouth with a washcloth. The skin around her lips was red. "Did you have fun?" I asked. She shrugged. I sat on the floor so we were eye level. "You do not have to protect anyone's feelings. I only want the truth." Ruby twisted the washcloth. "Grandma was happy." I asked again, more carefully. "Were you happy?" "Some of it was okay." That answer stayed with me. It was not a yes, but I had spent enough of my life accepting partial comfort as consent. I told her she never had to wear makeup, a dress, or a smile for anyone, and she nodded and asked if we could order pizza. I spoke to Mom the next morning. I kept my voice calm. I said no more pageant clothes, no makeup without asking Ruby first, and no pictures posted online. Mom called me dramatic. Dad called me later and said she had deleted the photos. I accepted that as a resolution because I wanted one. 3 weeks passed. Then Ruby came home from school carrying a navy backpack she did not own. "It is from Grandma," she said. Inside were a pair of white shoes, a plastic garment cover, a packet of hair clips, and a rhinestone crown. The crown was silver, sharp at the points, and lined with combs meant to anchor it to a child's hair. It looked enough like my old crown that my stomach tightened. There was a note beneath it. "For our little star, every girl should know how it feels to shine." Ruby watched my face. "Grandma said it is just pretend." I lifted the crown, and it was heavier than it looked, just like mine had been. "Did she give you this at school?" "She left it with the office." That detail mattered. Mom had gone around me and placed the choice directly in Ruby's hands, where refusing would feel like rejecting a gift and a grandmother at the same time. I put the crown back in the bag. "You are not in trouble." "I know." "Do you want any of this?" Ruby studied the shoes. "I like the sparkles. I do not want people looking at me." Both things could be true, and that was the kind of answer my mother never allowed. I texted Mom that we would return the bag. She replied with a thumbs up, then sent a longer message about how fear grows when parents encourage avoidance. I did not answer. Aaron offered to drop the bag at their house, but I kept it in the hall closet for 2 days. Some part of me wanted Mom to come get it and hear me say no in person. She never did. On the 3rd day, the crown was missing. I found the empty backpack behind the coats. The shoes and garment cover were still there. Only the crown was gone. Ruby denied moving it at first. Her cheeks turned pink and she stared at the floor. I did not press. That evening, she brought the crown to me wrapped in a sweatshirt. "Grandma said you would throw it away," she whispered. I felt anger rise so fast that I had to put both hands on the kitchen counter. Not at Ruby, at the sentence my mother had planted between us. "I was going to return it," I said, "but I should have told you that." "I am sorry." Ruby rubbed one of the metal points. "Can I keep it if I never wear it?" I wanted to say no. I wanted every glittering piece of my childhood out of the house. But the crown was not dangerous by itself. The secrecy around it was. "You can keep it," I said. "Nobody gets to make it mean something you did not choose." She placed it on the top shelf of her bookcase between a model of Saturn and a jar of polished rocks. It looked ridiculous there. It also looked harmless. That was my mistake because I thought naming the boundary made it real for everyone. Summer began 2 weeks later. Ruby attended a science day camp near my office. My parents picked her up on Thursdays because Aaron taught a summer reading program across town. The arrangement had worked for years. Dad took Ruby to the library. Mom made grilled cheese. I collected her before dinner. On the 2nd Thursday, Ruby got into my car carrying a small paper cup of cucumber slices. She usually left Mom's house asking for a snack before we reached the next traffic light. "Did you eat?" I asked. "Grandma said we were having a light day." I looked at her in the mirror. "What does that mean?" She said salty food makes your face look puffy in pictures. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What pictures?" Ruby's eyes shifted toward the window. "Just practice." I pulled into a grocery store parking lot and turned around. She had concealer under one eye and a thin line of mascara clung to her lashes. "Did Grandma take more photos?" Ruby's mouth trembled. "She said it was not a pageant. What did she call it?" "A confidence workshop." There are moments when your past does not feel like memory. It feels like a room opening around you. I could smell aerosol hairspray. I could feel pins against my scalp. I kept my voice level. "You never have to skip food for a picture." "Not for Grandma, not for anyone. She said one light day does not hurt. That was not her decision." Ruby started crying. "Do not be mad at her." That sentence hurt more than the makeup. My daughter was already managing my mother's consequences. I called Aaron. He met us at home with sandwiches and did not ask questions until Ruby had eaten, and then I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. "No more pickups," he said. I agreed. The answer should have ended there. When I called Mom, she laughed once, as if I had misunderstood a joke. She said Ruby had eaten lunch and chosen cucumber for the ride home. She said the concealer covered a mosquito bite. She said Confidence Workshop was a silly name for taking pictures. I asked why Ruby had been told food could make her face puffy. Because it can. She is 9. And she is healthy. Those are not the same subject. Mom's voice hardened. You work with anxious children all day, Nina. You see pathology everywhere. Dad took the phone. He said Mom had used the wrong words, but nobody had starved Ruby, and he asked me not to punish them over a misunderstanding. I said Thursday pickups were over. There was a long silence. Then Mom came back on the line. You are teaching her to fear everything you feared. No, I said. I am teaching her she can say no before she is afraid. Mom hung up. For the next month, my parents did not see Ruby alone. They came to our house twice, both times with Dad doing most of the talking. Mom was warm with Ruby and cool with me. She never mentioned pageants. That silence should have reassured me. Instead, it felt organized. Ruby missed them. She asked why Grandpa could not take her to the library. I told her the adults were working out some rules. I did not tell her that Grandma had broken them because I did not want Ruby to feel responsible, and that choice left an empty space. Mom filled it. She began sending Ruby voice messages through a kid's messaging app. The app required my approval, and the messages sounded innocent. She asked about camp, the moon, and a book they were reading together. Then one evening, Ruby played a message at the kitchen table. Mom's voice said, "Some people confuse protection with fear. Brave girls learn the difference." Ruby stopped the recording before it ended. Aaron looked at me. That is not innocent. I removed Mom from the app. Dad called 10 minutes later. He said I was cutting off communication because I could not tolerate disagreement. I can tolerate disagreement, I said. I will not let her recruit Ruby into it, he sighed. Your mother loves that child. I know, love does not make every choice safe. Dad did not answer that. He asked whether they could attend Ruby's birthday dinner the following week. I said yes, with us present. Again, I wanted a normal answer more than I wanted to examine the pattern. Ruby's 9th birthday was small. Mom arrived with a telescope, and Ruby hugged her so hard that both of them staggered. For one bright moment, I saw the grandmother I wanted her to be. While Dad and Aaron assembled the tripod, Mom watched Ruby run across the yard. She is extraordinary, she said. She is. You think I do not see who she is. I think you see who she could be for you. Her smile tightened. We are not doing this today. After cake, Mom asked to print the telescope warranty. 2 days later, my printer history showed 6 pages, and Ruby's school headshot was missing. Mom claimed she had printed the warranty in Spanish by accident and taken the picture for a frame. The telescope used a digital registration card. I knew she was lying, but I did not know what the lie covered, so I searched local pageants online until midnight. Aaron found me at the kitchen table. You do not have to prove the exact plan before setting the boundary, he said. He was right. I had been waiting for the damage to become large enough, just like Dad. The next morning, I emailed my parents. Ruby would not attend pageants, workshops, photo sessions, or modeling events. They were not authorized to register her, use her image, or discuss her body. Dad replied, understood. Mom replied, I understand that you do not want Ruby pressured into activities she does not choose. It was almost the same sentence. Almost. I asked her to confirm the full boundary. She did not. For several weeks, nothing happened. The crown remained beside Saturn, and the telescope became Ruby's favorite possession, and one night, Dad used it with her in our backyard while Mom sat with me. She asked whether I still stuttered when I was tired. I used to worry people would not see how smart you were, she said. I needed you to let me speak badly until I could speak for myself. She looked down at her coffee. I did what I knew. I believe that. Then she added, but I will not apologize for trying to give you confidence. The old door closed again. I am not asking you to apologize for wanting me confident, I said. I am asking you to understand that control is not confidence. Mom left without answering. The peace lasted until October, when a woman named Paige Holloway called my office on a Tuesday afternoon. She introduced herself as the parent coordinator for the Carolina Young Star Showcase. The name meant nothing to me at first. She said, I am confirming Ruby Caldwell's interview time for Saturday. I stopped breathing for a second. There is no interview time, I said. Paper rustled on her end. I have Ruby listed in the junior division. Sponsor is Celeste Warren. Celeste Warren was my mother. I closed my office door. My daughter is not participating. I did not consent. Paige became careful. She explained that the showcase allowed a grandparent or family sponsor to pay the entry fee and attend preliminary workshops. A parent or legal guardian still had to sign the final participation release before stage events. Has Ruby attended anything? I asked. There was a pause. She attended an orientation and a private coaching session. My chair felt unsteady beneath me. When? Paige gave me 2 dates. Both were Thursday pickups during summer camp. The Cucumber Day was one of them, and I asked how they had Ruby's school photograph. Paige said the sponsor had submitted it with a short biography. Please send me everything connected to her registration. She hesitated because I was not the account holder. Then I heard another voice in the background, and her tone changed. I can send the information that concerns parental authorization, she said. I also need to flag the account until we resolve this. The email arrived 10 minutes later. The first page showed Ruby's photograph from the musical. Beneath it was a biography my mother had written. Ruby Caldwell is a bright, poised young lady who dreams of performing and hopes to inspire other girls to overcome shyness. My daughter did not dream of performing. She dreamed of seeing Saturn's rings without leaving her driveway. The next page listed goals: better posture, more graceful movement, improved diet, stronger eye contact, comfortable public smile. My mother had turned Ruby into a list of corrections. At the bottom was a note in Celeste's handwriting, scanned from the orientation packet. Her mother is extremely protective due to her own childhood anxiety. Please direct scheduling through me until Nina sees how much Ruby enjoys it. I read that line 3 times. Mom had not misunderstood my boundary. She had planned around it, and Paige called again before I could respond. She said the account was frozen. Ruby could not attend further sessions without my written consent. I thanked her. Then I asked whether she had observed Ruby. Only briefly, she said. She seemed quiet. That is normal for her. I understand. No, I said, then softened my voice. I mean, quiet is not a symptom. It is just how she enters a room. Paige was silent for a moment. You should know the final showcase is not this Saturday. The interview is. The stage event is in 3 weeks. That gave me 3 weeks. I thought time meant control, so I printed the registration pages and placed them on the kitchen table before Ruby came home. Aaron read them while standing. His face changed at improved diet. She took our child to private coaching after you said no. I know. We are done. I know. But I did not know what done meant yet. I knew my parents would not be alone with Ruby. I knew the registration had to be canceled. I knew trust had been broken. I did not know how to tell Ruby without making her carry the full weight of the betrayal. That evening, I asked her whether Grandma had taken her to a hotel during summer, and Ruby froze with a fork halfway to her mouth. Aaron reached for my hand under the table. I kept my voice gentle. You are not in trouble. Grandma is not here. You can tell us anything. Ruby put down the fork. It was only practice. How many times? 2. Did you want to go? She looked at me with frightened confusion. Grandma said I did. The words made no sense, which was exactly why they were so powerful. What did you say? I asked. I said I did not know. She said that meant I was nervous, not that I did not want it. Aaron closed his eyes. Ruby started talking faster. She said the first session involved walking across a taped line, turning and answering questions. The second involved hair, pictures, and a coach pinching the fabric at her waist. "Did anyone touch your body after you asked them not to?" I asked. The coach asked first. Grandma said yes. "Did you say yes?" Ruby's face crumpled. I did not say anything. I moved beside her and held out my hand. She chose to take it. "Not saying anything is not the same as yes," I told her. "Freezing is not permission. Being confused is not permission." She whispered, "Grandma said you would be proud after." I told her the truth in the simplest words I could find. Grandma had registered her after being told not to. That was an adult mistake, and Ruby had not caused it, and she did not have to fix it. Then I made my second mistake. I asked whether any part of the pageant sounded fun. I meant to return choice to her. Ruby heard a test. She looked from me to Aaron and said, "Maybe." That one word kept the door open. The next morning, I called Paige and canceled the registration. She confirmed by email and removed Ruby's photo from the event page. Then I called my parents. Mom answered on the first ring. "Did you talk to the coordinator?" "You took Ruby to 2 sessions after I told you not to." I gave her an opportunity. "You told them to hide scheduling from me." I told them you were anxious. "You used my history to make my boundary look like an illness." Dad spoke in the background, asking Mom to put the phone on speaker. I heard the click, and he said they should have told me. Mom corrected him. "We should have told Nina once Ruby felt ready." I asked whether either of them understood the difference. Mom said, "Ruby told us she wanted to continue. She told us she did not know. That is how children talk when a parent has trained them to fear disappointing her." For one stunned second, I almost admired the reversal. My mother had taught Ruby to keep a secret, and now she was accusing me of controlling the answer. "No unsupervised visits," I said. "No direct messages. No pageant contact. We will decide when family visits resume." Dad inhaled sharply, and Mom became very quiet. "You are taking our granddaughter away because she enjoyed something you hate," she said. "I am changing access because you lied. She is not property." "Exactly." I ended the call before she could turn that word around too. The first week was hard on Ruby. She missed Grandpa most. He had been helping her build a simple moon tracker for the backyard, and the unfinished wooden base sat beside the telescope. I offered to help. She said no. On Friday, she asked whether Grandma was a bad person. Children ask moral questions when adults have given them a problem too large for ordinary language. "Grandma made a bad choice," I said. "More than one. I love her, and I do not trust her with this right now." Ruby traced a circle on the table. "Can you love somebody and not trust them?" "Yes." "Does that hurt?" "Yes." She nodded as if I had confirmed a fact about gravity. Mom sent flowers to my office. The card said, "I am sorry my love for Ruby feels threatening to you." I threw the card away and gave the flowers to the front desk. Dad emailed Aaron instead of me. He said Mom was not sleeping. He said the pageant had given her something joyful after a difficult year at the salon. He said she felt erased from Ruby's life. Aaron replied with one sentence. Celeste erased Nina from a decision about Nina's child. Dad did not answer. 2 Saturdays later, my parents appeared at our door without calling. Mom held the rhinestone crown. Dad carried the unfinished moon tracker, and Ruby had taken the crown from her shelf and placed it in a box for them earlier that week. I had not mailed it yet. Mom must have seen it as a message. She stood on our porch with tears in her eyes and asked to speak to Ruby. I said no. Ruby heard her voice and came down the stairs. "Grandma," Mom lifted the crown. "I wanted to return something that belongs to you." I stepped into the doorway. "This is not the time." Mom looked past me. "Ruby, sweetheart, did you ask your mother to cancel?" I had never seen manipulation move so cleanly. The question looked simple. Every possible answer placed Ruby between us. I told Mom to leave. Ruby said, "I said maybe." Mom's face changed. Not much, but enough. She had found the opening. "See," she whispered. Dad touched her arm. "Celeste." "No, Nina needs to hear her." Ruby moved closer to me. "I did say maybe." "I heard you," I said. "You do not have to decide this on the porch." Mom began crying, real tears. That mattered because manipulation is not always fake. Sometimes a person truly suffers when control stops working, and she said the showcase had been the happiest she had felt in months. Her salon lease was ending. 2 longtime stylists had moved away. She felt old, unnecessary, and tired of being treated like everything she loved had harmed me. For the first time, I understood what the pageant was giving her. It was not only a stage for Ruby. It was a stage where Mom could still be the expert, the woman everyone needed, the mother whose choices looked beautiful from the audience. Understanding did not make it safe. I told Dad to take her home. He set the moon tracker on the porch and guided her toward the car. Before she reached it, Mom turned back. "Ask Ruby when I am not here. Ask her what she wants." That was a fair request delivered after an unfair question. It stayed with me. The next day, Aaron and I asked Ruby what she wanted when no one else was present. We told her the pageant was canceled and that she owed Grandma nothing. Ruby asked about the interview questions. She had liked explaining why a moon base needed a library, and she wondered whether she could try one workshop with me there, wearing pants, and stop whenever she wanted. Aaron was uneasy. So was I, but I feared turning my history into another kind of control. Paige offered an open interview workshop that did not require pageant enrollment. Parents could observe. I set written rules: no scoring, photographs, body comments, or promises about the showcase. Mom would not attend. Ruby wore black pants and a solar system sweatshirt. When Paige asked what adults misunderstood about her, Ruby said, "People think I am scared when I am thinking." "What helps while you are thinking?" Paige asked, not asking me the question again. Afterward, every child received a ribbon. Ruby's said brave answer. She pinned it above her desk and looked proud. During a supervised video call, she told Mom about it. Mom listened for several minutes, then said, "Imagine giving that answer on the big stage." I ended the call. Ruby got angry. "You always end everything." Her words hurt because that was how the conflict looked from where she stood. Grandma offered. Mom stopped. Aaron said, "She is watching 2 adults fight over what her answer means. Make it easier for her to have no answer." So we changed the rule. Ruby did not have to decide whether pageants were good or bad. She only had to decide what happened to her body and time, one step at a time. Then the school nurse called. Ruby had complained of a headache and nausea before lunch. When the nurse offered crackers, Ruby said she was not supposed to eat salty food before photographs. There were no photographs scheduled. I picked her up and waited until we were in the car. "Who told you that?" She pressed her forehead to the window. "Nobody today. Was it Grandma?" She said it before. The rule had stayed inside Ruby long after the adult left the room. At home, I found a folded sheet in her astronomy notebook. It listed foods under 2 headings: clean choices and heavy choices. The handwriting was Ruby's. The words were my mother S. At the bottom, Ruby had drawn a small crown beside the sentence, 3 light days before stage. I sat on her bed holding that paper and understood that consent was not a single question. A child could enjoy an interview and still be harmed by the system surrounding it. She could want a ribbon and not understand why she had started fearing crackers. I called Paige and asked whether the workshop had included nutrition advice, and she sounded alarmed and said absolutely not. Their event rules prohibited weight coaching for children. I sent her a picture of the sheet. She recognized the phrase "light days" from an independent coach named Lacey Boone, who sometimes worked with pageant families but was not employed by the showcase. That was the coach who had pinched Ruby's dress. Paige said she would document the concern and bar Lacey from attending the showcase as a guest coach. She also said Celeste had contacted the office twice since the cancellation. What did she want? She asked whether Ruby could still qualify through a sponsor entry. And I told her no. I thanked her, but the word qualify stayed in my mind. That afternoon, I drove to my parents' house without Ruby. Dad opened the door and looked older than he had 2 weeks before, and Mom sat at the dining table surrounded by pageant materials. The green dress hung from the chandelier hook. Makeup cases covered one chair. A printed schedule lay beside a hotel floor plan. She did not try to hide any of it. "You are planning to take her," I said. "I am preparing in case you stop punishing her." "She is afraid to eat crackers." Mom's face flickered. "That is absurd." I placed the food list on the table. She read it, her mouth tightened. "I never told her not to eat." "You taught her that food changes whether her face is acceptable." "I taught her how bodies respond before photographs." She is a child. She is a child who wants to compete. She wants a blue ribbon and a funny question. She does not understand the rest." Mom stood. "You do not get to define her wants because they frighten you." I looked at Dad. "Did you know about the private coach?" He rubbed one hand over his jaw. "I drove them." That answer ended something in me. Dad had not merely failed to stop Mom. He had carried my daughter to the place where she learned to distrust her own hunger. "You both knew," I said. Dad stepped toward me. "We thought once you saw her do well, you would calm down." There was his real role. He did not want peace. He wanted Mom's plan to succeed quickly enough that my resistance looked unreasonable afterward, so I took the printed schedule from the table. Mom grabbed the other end. "That is mine." I let go. "Keep it. You will not have Ruby." She said they had paid for the hotel, the dress alterations, the coach, and the entry package. She said other families were expecting them. She said withdrawing would humiliate Ruby. "Ruby is already withdrawn. She can still participate if you sign at check-in." "I will not." Mom looked at me with a calmness that scared me more than anger. "Then you can explain to her why you were the only person in the room who did not believe in her." I left before my voice rose. In the car, I called Aaron and said the pageant conversation was over. No more workshop, no more video calls, no contact with my parents until after the event date. He agreed. Then I called Paige and asked her to place a note on Ruby's name stating that I would not authorize participation under any account. She said she would alert the event director and registration desk. I thought that was enough. A week before the showcase, Mom mailed a package to Ruby. There was no return name, but I recognized the handwriting. Inside was the green dress, freshly altered. A tag at the waist had Ruby's name stitched in silver thread, and there was also a card. "You earned the right to decide. Do not let anyone's old fear become your future." Ruby read it before I could stop her. Her eyes filled. "Did I earn it?" she asked. "You never had to earn the right to decide." "Then why can't I go?" There it was. My mother had turned protection into proof that I did not respect Ruby. I sat beside her on the floor. "Because adults have already lied, hidden things, and taught you rules about food that made you sick. A choice is not free when someone keeps changing the cost of saying no." Ruby stared at the dress. "What if I want to wear it once?" I wanted to burn it. Instead, I said she could wear it at home if she chose. She put it on. The dress fit too closely at the waist. The skirt scratched her legs. Ruby looked at herself in the mirror and smiled for half a second. Then she asked, "Do I look puffy?" That was the end of my uncertainty. I unzipped the dress and told her the pageant was not happening. She cried. She said she hated Grandma, then said she hated me, then buried her face in my shoulder and asked why everyone kept making her choose. I held her and said the sentence I should have said sooner. "You do not have to choose between us. I am the parent. I will carry the adult decision." She cried until she fell asleep. I packed the dress, crown, food list, and card into the same navy backpack, and I planned to return everything after the event. The showcase was scheduled for the following Saturday at the Briarwood Hotel, near downtown Raleigh. On Friday afternoon, Paige called me. She said Celeste had not registered Ruby under a new account. The desk note remained active. She wanted me to know because the system looked clear. I thanked her. That evening, Dad texted Aaron. He said he and Mom were going to the mountains for the weekend. He hoped distance would help everyone cool down. Aaron showed me the message. We both recognized it as unusual, but it also matched what we wanted to believe. At bedtime, Ruby asked whether the pageant had started, and I said the interviews were probably underway, but her part was over. She looked relieved. I did not know the pageant bag had already left our house. Ruby had placed the green dress and the crown in her sleepover bag. She did it after reading Mom's card because she wanted to show the dress to her best friend, Mia. I did not discover that until Saturday morning. Mia's mother called at 9:20. I was folding laundry while Erin made coffee. Her voice sounded uncertain. "Nina, I just wanted to confirm that Ruby left with your parents." The towel in my hands dropped to the floor. "What do you mean left? Your mom said you asked them to pick her up for breakfast. Ruby knew about it. I tried your phone, but she said you were with a patient." My phone had been charging upstairs. There were 2 missed calls. I did not ask them to pick her up. The silence on the line became panic. Mia's mother started apologizing. I stopped her. My parents had picked Ruby up many times before, and they were familiar adults, and they had arrived with a child who seemed to expect them. I asked what Ruby was wearing. Jeans and her purple sweatshirt. She had her overnight bag and the navy backpack. The pageant bag. Aaron was already reaching for his keys. I called Mom. No answer. I called Dad. No answer. Then I opened the family location app. Ruby's tablet appeared as a blue dot moving toward downtown Raleigh. The dot stopped at the Briarwood Hotel. For several seconds, I could not make my hands work. Aaron took my phone, looked at the map, and said, "I am driving." On the way, I called Paige. She answered over ballroom noise. "My parents have Ruby," I said. "They picked her up without permission. They are at the hotel." Paige's voice changed immediately. "I have not seen her. Check the junior dressing area." She put me on hold. The drive took 18 minutes. It felt like a year made of red lights. While we waited at an intersection, Ruby's tablet sent a storage alert to my phone. Our devices shared a family account. A video file was uploading because the tablet memory was almost full. The thumbnail showed green fabric and carpet. I opened it. At first, the picture was dark, and the tablet seemed to be inside a bag. I heard hangers moving, children talking, and my mother's voice. "Hold still, Ruby." "I cannot pin this if you keep turning," Ruby said. "Mom said no." Mom answered, "Your mom said no because she is scared. She will say yes when she sees you ready." Dad's voice came from farther away. "Celeste, we should call her." "We are calling her when there is something to see." The video shook. A strip of ballroom ceiling appeared, then darkness again. Ruby whispered, "I do not want the crown." Mom said, "You asked to bring it." I wanted to show Mia. "And now you are here. Sometimes life gives us a chance before we feel ready." Another woman asked whether they had the parent release. Mom said the child's mother was on her way. That was the plan. They had not expected to get Ruby on stage without me. They expected to create a finished child, a waiting audience, and a public moment where my no would look cruel. Ruby said she wanted to go home. Mom lowered her voice. "Listen to me. Your mother will ruin this if you tell her you are scared. Smile when she comes in. Once the judges see you, she will not take this away." The file ended. Aaron heard every word through the car speakers, and he pulled into the hotel entrance and stopped so quickly that the seat belt locked across my chest. "Go," he said. "I will park and call security." I ran through the lobby carrying my phone. The Briarwood ballroom level smelled like coffee, hairspray, and carpet cleaner. Families moved between doors with garment bags and rolling makeup cases. Music thumped behind the largest set of double doors. A sign pointed toward junior finalists. Paige met me in the hall. She wore a headset and looked furious. "We found them," she said. Ruby is not cleared to perform. Your mother told the dressing room volunteer you were parking. Where is she? Paige led me through a side door. Ruby stood in front of a lighted mirror in the green dress. The rhinestone crown was pinned into her curled hair. Her face was pale under makeup, and her hands were pressed flat against her thighs, and Mom stood behind her with a spray can. Dad waited near the curtain, holding a release form and a pen. The scene was exactly what my childhood had trained me to obey. Adults were waiting. Money had been spent. A child was dressed. Music was playing. The easiest thing in the world would have been to sign and promise myself I would deal with the betrayal later. Mom saw me in the mirror and smiled. "There you are," she said. "Doesn't she look beautiful?" Ruby's eyes met mine. I walked to her, not to the form. "Do you want to leave?" I asked. Her lower lip shook. She nodded. Mom stepped between us. "She was fine until you walked in." I moved around her and reached for the crown. "Ruby, may I take this off?" "Yes." Mom caught my wrist. "Do not humiliate her." I looked at her hand until she released me. The pins were tight, so I removed them one by one and placed them on the counter. Ruby winced when the last comb came free. Dad held out the form. "Nina, nobody is asking you to commit to a season. Let her finish today. You picked her up without permission." "We picked her up from a friend's house," Mom said. "She came willingly. She is 9. She packed the dress. She packed it for a sleepover." Mom's voice rose. "Because you made it forbidden, you made one dress feel dangerous." Paige entered behind me with the event director, a woman named Denise Carter. Denise asked Ruby's age and whether I was her legal guardian. "I am her mother," I said. "I do not consent to her participation." Denise nodded. "Then she cannot go on stage." Mom turned on her. "We paid for a full sponsor package. We were told the parent could sign at check-in." "The parent has declined," Denise said. "You do not understand the family situation." "I understand the release." For years, my father had treated procedure as a shelter from conflict. Now he tried it again. He pointed to the signature line. "Nina, sign for the interview portion. If she does not want the walk, she can stop." Ruby whispered, "I already said I want to stop." Dad looked at her, startled, as if he had not heard the same sentence in the car, the dressing room, and the recording, and Mom crouched in front of Ruby. "Sweetheart, you are overwhelmed because everyone is arguing. Take one breath. Show them your smile." Ruby turned her face away. Mom reached for her chin. I stepped between them. "Do not touch her." The room went quiet except for the music beyond the curtain. Mom stood slowly. "You are making me sound like a monster." "I have not played the recording yet." Her face emptied. Dad lowered the form, and I opened the video on my phone and set it on the lighted counter. I did not make a speech. I pressed play. The dressing room volunteers could hear it. So could Paige and Denise. We listened to Mom say that I would ruin everything if Ruby admitted she was scared. Mom reached for the phone. Denise stopped her. "That is private," Mom said. "It is my daughter's recording." "You recorded us," Ruby spoke before I could answer. "I did." Every adult looked at her, and she stared at the floor, but her voice stayed clear. Mom told me that if I could not say something, I could record it and show her later. I had told her that months earlier for a school issue. I had forgotten. Ruby had not. Mom's anger shifted toward me. "You taught her to spy on her grandparents." "I taught her that silence is not consent." Dad sat down on a folding chair. The release form bent in his hand. The recording continued. Dad's voice said they should call me. Mom's voice said they would call when there was something to see. When the file ended, Denise removed her headset. "Ruby is withdrawn," she said. "The sponsor account is closed. Mr. and Mrs. Warren, you need to leave the dressing area." Mom stared at her. "This is a family disagreement. You brought a child into a restricted area without parental authorization and misrepresented the mother's arrival. It is now an event safety issue." That was the visible consequence my parents had always avoided. A neutral adult had named the behavior without softening it for Mom's feelings. Mom turned to me. "Are you satisfied?" No, she seemed surprised. I did not come here to punish you, I said. I came to get Ruby. You have punished everyone, her, us, those people waiting outside. The judges do not know her. The audience will recover. Ruby is the person who matters. Mom's eyes filled. I was trying to give her what you threw away. There it was at last, not confidence, not opportunity, her unfinished story. I did not throw it away, I said. I survived it and chose something else. You were talented. I was terrified. I made you strong. You taught me to smile while I was afraid of you. Dad whispered my name. I looked at him. And you taught me that keeping her calm mattered more than telling the truth. He stared at the bent form in his hands. Mom shook her head. You have spent your whole life blaming me for every uncomfortable feeling. No, I spent my whole life explaining them away. She pointed at Ruby. She wanted this. Ruby pressed against my side, and I held up the phone. She said no in the car. She said no in this room. She said no on the recording. You kept translating until her answer matched yours. Mom's mouth opened, but nothing came out. The ballroom music changed. An MC announced the next group. Somewhere beyond the curtain, people clapped. Mom looked toward the sound. Her body moved a fraction in that direction before she stopped herself. I understood then that she still wanted the stage more than the truth standing beside me. I picked up the rhinestone crown from the counter. It glittered under the mirror lights. Up close, foundation had collected along the metal combs. One point was bent where I had pulled out a pin. Mom reached for it. That belongs to Ruby. I asked Ruby, do you want it? She shook her head. I placed the crown in Mom's open hand. No, I said. It belongs to the person who needs it. Mom flinched as if I had slapped her, and it was the sharpest sentence I said that day. I am not proud of the pain it caused. I am proud that I did not use more pain once I had the power. I took a makeup wipe from the counter and asked Ruby whether she wanted help. She nodded. I cleaned one cheek. She cleaned the other. The pink lipstick took 3 wipes to remove. Dad stood. Let me drive you home. Aaron appeared in the doorway with hotel security behind him. You will not be driving her anywhere, I said. Dad looked at Ruby. I am sorry. She waited. He swallowed. I am sorry I picked you up without your mom's permission. I am sorry I heard you say you wanted to go home and did not take you. That was the first complete apology anyone in my family had offered all day. Ruby did not hug him. She said, okay. Dad nodded as if he understood that okay was not forgiveness, and Mom still held the crown. Martin, we are leaving. He followed her, then stopped beside me. I kept thinking I could prevent a worse fight, he said. You prevented the fight that might have protected us. His face folded. He left without answering. Denise asked whether I wanted hotel security to document the incident. I said yes. I did not do it because I wanted my parents arrested. I wanted a record that did not depend on whoever told the story most confidently later. Paige gave me a copy of the canceled account note and the event report. She apologized to Ruby for the adults who had failed to listen, and Ruby asked whether Paige still liked her moonbase answer. Paige smiled. It was the best answer I heard all month. That mattered to Ruby. It separated the one thing she had enjoyed from everything my mother had built around it. We left through a service hallway so she would not have to cross the ballroom in the green dress. In the parking garage, Ruby stopped walking. I packed it, she said. I know. I thought maybe if I brought it I could decide later. You were allowed to be curious. I should have told you. You should not have been asked to keep another adult's plan alive. She looked at me. Are you mad? I am mad at what happened. I am not mad at you. Aaron wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. We drove home without turning on the radio. The green dress went into a box that afternoon. Ruby chose not to donate it yet. She said she wanted it out of sight until it felt like cloth again. I understood. The next morning, Mom told our extended family that I had stormed into Ruby's first pageant and dragged her away. She left out the unauthorized pickup, the food list, and Ruby asking to go home. When my aunt called, I sent the hotel report and one sentence from the recording. I did not send the whole video. Ruby's fear was not family property. Dad then corrected Mom's story in writing, and he admitted they had picked Ruby up without permission and that she had asked to leave. For once, he allowed truth to create the conflict his silence had always postponed. We began counseling. Mom said the recording could be interpreted in many ways. The therapist read Ruby's exact words, "I want to go home." Then she asked what interpretation a child should need beyond that. Mom cried, but she did not apologize that day. I finally understood that my boundary did not depend on her agreement. For 6 months, my parents had no unsupervised contact with Ruby. We removed them from school forms, camp contacts, and family accounts. Dad accepted the rules. Mom called them cruel. Ruby saw a child therapist long enough to separate curiosity from obligation. Then we kept life ordinary. She ate crackers, wore sweatshirts, practiced interview questions for fun, and stopped when they stopped being fun. 3 months after the pageant, Mom asked to meet at her empty salon. She sat in the same chair where she had curled my hair before competitions. "I thought beauty gave women power," she said. "When I was young, it did." "That can be true," I said. "You still never taught us we could choose not to be noticed." She looked at the dark mirror. "I do not know how to teach something I never had." Honesty was a beginning, not access. I told her that. Then she tried again. "I am sorry I took Ruby. I am sorry I taught her that her no was nervousness. I am sorry I used your childhood to make you doubt yourself." I believed she meant it. I also kept the 6-month boundary. Later, Dad finished the moon tracker with Ruby during a supervised visit. Mom came without gifts and listened while Ruby talked about Jupiter. She did not correct her posture, volume, or face. That was small. Small was what trust looked like now. A year has passed since the Briarwood Hotel. Ruby is 10. She joined the science club and volunteered to introduce their planetarium fundraiser, and she wore black pants, a silver tie, and no makeup. Before she stepped to the microphone, she asked me, "What if I freeze?" I said, "Then you can pause." "What if people think I am scared?" "You can be scared." "What if I do not smile?" "Then they will still hear you." She walked onto the stage and spoke for 2 minutes about light pollution. Halfway through, she lost a word. She stopped, breathed, found it, and continued. Nobody rescued her. Nobody corrected her face. Nobody called the pause a failure. Afterward, Mom stood at the back of the room beside Dad. She waited until Ruby came to her. "You were clear," Mom said, "not beautiful, not polished." Clear, Ruby smiled because she wanted to. The green dress stayed boxed until last winter. Then Ruby asked to open it. She cut one small crystal from the hem and glued it to the cover of her constellation notebook, and the rest went to a theater costume program. "Why keep one?" I asked. She turned the notebook until the crystal caught the light. "Because sparkles were not the problem," she said. She was right. The problem was never a crown, a dress, or a stage. It was every adult who treated a child's hesitation as an obstacle instead of an answer. My mother asked me to smile for the judges so nobody would see what she had done. I chose to let the room see it. That choice did not destroy our family. It ended the version of our family that required a little girl to disappear inside a beautiful picture. Ruby still takes time before she answers. Now we wait. If this story stayed with you, ask yourself whose voice gets called difficult when it finally says no.